I could get the ground to crack in half and have everybody dive into it. You know, yeah, I could tell people to take off all their clothes and have an orgy on the floor, and they would do it, you know.
Phil had a lot of opinions, and I would just listen to what he was saying, and I would say, oh, jeez.
I got a big mouth and a big so take you short.
Get the lawyers on the phone. There's going to be a riot.
The police.
We're
Just as Pantera was scaling their greatest heights, Anselmo was hitting bottom. Burdened by agonizing back pain, the singer's erratic antics threatened to take down America's toughest band.
You never knew what Phil was going to get on stage. Some nights you'd get the Bulldog, and other nights you'd get the dude on 12 Somas or whatever he was on, and laying on his back screaming in the mic. You know, it was embarrassing.
He always complained about his back. We all told him all the time, get x-rays, go to the doctor, let's get it fixed so we can get on with this, and he never would.
They wanted to fuse the discs from the front, cut a piece of my hip out to use the actual bone as the cartilage part. And I was like, well, what's the recovery time on something like this? Oh, well, it's going to be about a year and I'm like, a year and a half? No way, man. I've got work to do.
To maintain Pantera's frantic pace, Philip dabbled with more dangerous solutions for his perpetual pain.
I was really turned on to heroin. I realized that it would numb me out so much that the pain was gone. And that's like putting a Band-Aid over cancer.
As the drugs dulled Philip's pain, he continued to isolate himself from the band. During the recording of 1996's The Great Southern Trendkill, Philip cut his vocals in New Orleans, while Dime, Rex, and Vinny laid down tracks in Texas.
He would do his vocals, and then I would bring him back to Texas after 2 weeks, and they would hear him. So there was more of a disconnect between the two. It was the only way we could work at that time.
I was unapproachable. My mind was not my own, and it was filled with discord, if anything.
It was just real uncomfortable, man. It was just what the fun was gone, you know. The unity that we once had wasn't there. At the time, I didn't know anything about heroin. I had no clue what it was.
On July 13th, 1996, an hour after a triumphant homecoming show at the Starplex in Dallas, Texas, Philip overdosed on heroin. His heart stopped beating for nearly 5 minutes.
Somebody comes running around the corner and says, Phil's out. I saw him laying on the ground blue and people hitting on him and all this, and I was like, damn, dude had heat frustration. Said, no, dude, he OD'd on heroin. I'm like, heroin? You gotta be kidding. No f***ing way, not Phil Anselmo.
And the paramedics get there and they put him back on the couch and give him a shot, I guess, of adrenaline and put the oxygen on him and pump his chest and revive him.
I didn't know what had happened, and had all these tubes hooked up to me, and I sat straight up and threw up immediately. This nurse leaned over and said to me, welcome back to life. You overdosed on heroin.
The following night, Philip apologized to his bandmates and crew, but Pantera would never be the same again.
I had never felt smaller in my entire life. I begged for their forgiveness, and I promised them and I swore to them that this would never happen again.
It was definitely a wake-up call for all of us. It's like something that's been obvious in front of your face for years and years, and you go, aha!
I thought I could do anything, and there wasn't a damn thing that could beat me. I was wrong. I was wrong.
Philip's ongoing struggle with heroin was slowly tearing Pantera apart.
The dude was on a steamroller to self-destruction. I don't think anybody could have helped him.
There's a different look in everybody's eye. That inch of doubt that was never there before, the lack of trust. You know, where you going, man?
When Phil was on, he was on. Joe would have never taken that away from him or anything, but he was very embarrassed by him.
I relapsed maybe 2 more times, and I felt so guilty afterwards. I was like, why the hell? Why?
Philip's struggles turned Pantera into a powder keg. Even vivacious guitarist Dimebag Darrell began tiptoeing around the volatile vocalist.
He would even try to be low-key when walking into a room if Phil was there. On purpose, like he would kind of shadow his own personality just so that it didn't ruffle his feathers.
Dime and Vinny walked on eggshells for way too many years, waiting on that dude, waiting to see what that dude was gonna do, how he was gonna react to a certain situation.
The shell-shocked band didn't return to the recording studio for 4 years. While 2000's Reinventing the Steel was packed with Pantera's sledgehammer swagger, old tensions resurfaced on the road.
Darrell would make an effort to go over before the show to do a shot with him and go check on him after. He was pushing away all the people that really loved him and cared about him.
It was the same stuff, the same song list, the same. Once again, the communication was so bad that no one would even go to Phil and talk about changing the set list before a tour started.
In late 2001, the band's tour was abruptly cut short by the tragedy of 9/11. They had no idea they had performed together for the last time. Next, a shocking murder in Columbus, Ohio.
It was like a real bad movie. None of it seemed real whatsoever. None of it.
When Behind the Music continues. After going full throttle for nearly 2 decades, Pantera hit the brakes in the fall of 2001. But vocalist Philip Anselmo wasn't ready to pull back. He quickly returned to the road with a side project called Down, joined by Pantera bassist Rex Brown.
The last thing that he told us when we finished Reinventing the Steel tour was like, I'm going to go home and take a year off. My back's hurting. I'm done with it for a while. A month later, he's putting out the Down album and recording it.
He even said, I'm not trying to tour on it. In 6 months, you'll have your new Pantera record.
I mean, I could sit here and just keep going and going. Any free time I had, I would start something that would turn into something awesome.
Then he puts out Superjoint, goes out tours for that. Then he does another Down tour, and then another Superjoint record. Okay, this is not what he told us.
I mean, how long do we gotta wait around for this thing?
With Philip focused on pet projects Superjoint Ritual and Down, Pantera's short break turned into an extended vacation, and for nearly 2 years, the singer remained out of touch with Dime and Vinny.
You know, we couldn't communicate. Nobody would call us back.
We got everybody on the phone here, and we need to talk to Phil, and it would never come to the phone, ever. It was always sleeping in the shower, or there's a hurricane coming, he's got to board the windows up. I mean, give me a break.
They weren't calling me. I don't care what anybody says. And I know that I am just as guilty for not communicating with them. It was every damn body else's fault as much as mine.
It was a bunch of he said, she said nonsense that was going on, and I didn't get in the middle of it. A lot of it was nothing but horror. So at a certain point, there's no going back.